Alright, folks, and welcome to another episode of Too Long for Twitter here, and we are talking college football today, and two little topics we're going to merge into one. First off, playoff committee, and we saw that national championship game, TCU, Georgia. It wasn't exactly the most interesting game that I've ever watched, but the committee got it right. The committee got it right, and this is the thing in college football is there are 3 or 4 or 5 programs that are just better than everybody else. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, maybe not this year, but I mean their recruiting class speaks for themselves. Georgia, and then you know, depending, there's always a wild card. Oklahoma's been it for years. USC looks like they're going to be a new top dog with Lincoln Riley and all that, and the recruiting. And this is college football. There is way more parity in college football than I think we realize, but also that top upper echelon, you know, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Georgias, just leaps and bounds better than everybody else. But the committee got it right. What are you asking the committee to do? The committee took the 4 most deserving teams. They took Georgia, hadn't lost SEC champions, boom, easy. Michigan, hadn't lost, Big 12 champions, beat Ohio State, boom, there you go. Then you had TCU. They lost in the Big 12 championship game, barely. I remember watching the game, a very close game. I think it came down, it was a 1-score game, I believe correctly. And what are you going to reward a team like Clemson, who had multiple losses and won an ACC that really isn't that great? Do you put in a Alabama that had 2 losses? They were the 5th spot. And you put Tennessee, and even though I think Hendon Hooker being out shouldn't really impact the decision too much, still had 2 losses. Didn't make a conference championship. So what do you do? Oklahoma wasn't good. USC lost. They had that 4 spot locked up, and probably maybe even kicks TCU out if they end up winning the Pac-12, but they didn't. They lost Utah. So what do you do? And TCU was the most deserving team. And everyone's been clamoring. They want new teams. They don't just want to see Alabama win it every year. They don't want to see Clemson win it every year. But then when those teams don't get in and we don't get great games, everyone complains. So you can't have it both ways. You can want parity and want new teams. But if new teams aren't going to put up a fight, then you want the old teams. Do you want good games, or do you want new teams? And new teams, I mean, these college football semifinals were 2 of the best semis we ever got. I mean, that Georgia-Ohio State game, and maybe the championship game is a little bit better if Ohio State wins. And I think those 2 teams are a little bit more evenly matched than TCU and Georgia was. Georgia's a buzzsaw. That is what it is. Georgia is better than everybody else by quite a large margin. Very imperative on that Monday night. But this is the best semis we've ever got. And if you want to put the most deserving teams versus the best teams, and the committee I think has done a decent job every year. And as an Alabama fan, we get in every year, so I really don't have much to complain about. But I think you see a lot more blowouts than you do good games, and this is just because of the way college football is, the way the top dogs are. TCU had the better regular season. They won the games that mattered. They got to the championship game. They were rewarded for getting there. Alabama wasn't. Tennessee wasn't. Of the groups that didn't make a championship game, Ohio State was the better team on paper. So they got it right. They put in 2 deserving champions and 2 teams. One team that made it and lost, and the other team that lost, the team that won a championship in their conference. That's all I gotta say. They got it right. I mean, you can moan and complain about it. As an Alabama fan, I saw a lot of Alabama fans, chirping up and down. But no, Bama didn't deserve to get in. They lost twice. They lost to LSU, a great game. They lost to Tennessee. They played super poorly. They've had moments this season where they haven't looked great. They didn't deserve to be in there. Now, do they deserve to be the first team out? Yeah, I think so. I think they're just better. but you didn't make it, and that's fine. And that was the right call. That was the right decision. The 12-team expanded playoff, I think. Here's my take on it. I don't like it. I don't think in the college ranks, this kid should be playing this much football, especially if you see the NIL deals and all this, but not every single kid is guaranteed money, and they're playing a whole bunch of football. And I don't know, football has really soured on me. I played football. I had some injuries, so I can only imagine what these high-level athletes who are getting in 40 car crashes a week, what that says about player safety, all this. But the 12-team playoff is this thing, which I didn't consider before. But if you have a down year of an Alabama, who they still have one of the more talented rosters, they still get in. They probably beat up on a team that finished with a better record and probably ended up ahead. So, like, say this TCU team and this Alabama team met in the second round. Alabama takes away TCU. Maybe TCU wins, has an upset, has the underdog mentality. I just think you're trying to recreate March Madness in college football, and I just don't think it will work. College basketball is way different. You can have that underdog team, have that hot night. You can do that in football too, but I think more so in football than in basketball, those playing fields will even out a lot sooner. And those underdog runs don't go as far as these Sweet 16 runs by mid-majors, or even lower than that, or these Elite 8 runs, by these teams you never heard of before. That's just my thoughts on it. I thought the committee got it right. I thought the committee's doing a good job. We'll segue into just abolish divisions within conferences. I think that would be so cool. I think the ACC is doing this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think in like a year or two they're going to implement it, where instead of having an SEC fan, you have the SEC East, the SEC West, and most, I think all of the Power 5 conferences, especially the ones that have conference championship games, their conference divided into two sides. Whatever team you root for, they play the schedule all the time, and they usually rotate one or two of the guys from the other place in. I think just make it one conference, so obviously SEC. All of the teams in the SEC play each other on a rotating schedule. Take 3 teams that are your rivals, and they play them every year. So, for example, Alabama, they'd play Tennessee every year. They would play Auburn at the end of every year, and they'd probably play LSU. I think those are the top 3 rival teams. And then you just cycle that through. So we could play Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida one year, Missouri, and then they just cycle through. So you're not playing Mississippi State every single year, but you're still playing Mississippi State. You're not playing, you're playing LSU every year, but you might not see Arkansas every year. And what this does is allows like an Alabama and a Georgia, Alabama and Auburn to meet up in the SEC championship game, and Alabama and LSU to meet up in a championship game. And I think the one thing that really pushed this for me was Big Ten. And I feel like a lot of the Big Ten, it's Michigan, Ohio State, and like Penn State, and then kind of everyone else. So, I think all 3 of those teams play in the same division. So they beat up on each other. So like a Penn State probably gets 2 losses every year, just because that's what it is. They have to play Michigan and Ohio State. They lose probably both of those games, and now they're out of it. But now you have a situation where, like, Michigan they'll play Ohio State at the end of the year, Michigan State, and then Minnesota, whoever their other rival is. You get to the big one at the end of the year, when you have Ohio State, Michigan, and in the standings, they're both undefeated. Every other team has 2 or 3 losses. Then, say Ohio State beats Michigan. That next week, they can still play each other because they're the top 2 teams in the conference record-wise. So you have a rematch of the biggest rivalry in college football, probably, for a championship game. I think that would be awesome. I think you can implement that in all the Power 5s, every conference. Pick your rivals, play them on a loop every year, and then everything else kind of gets cycled through. You can have mix and matches championships. So, like, if you're an LSU and you lose one game, you lose to Alabama, you're done, because Alabama's probably running through, and now you can't play for a conference championship game, even if you have a really good team. And you look at and this has happened in years past where LSU was so good, but they didn't make the SEC championship game, and then Alabama beat like a Florida or Georgia, and then in the national championship game, it's LSU versus Alabama. You can have, and then those games are always so fun because it's that rematch. So I think that's what should happen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, suggest anything else you want to see me talk about. Again, these are kind of just thoughts that are too long for Twitter. I'll make a little video on it. So those are my 2 thoughts. The College Football Playoff Committee got it right. And take away divisions in college athletics and just have this one conference. There's no need to kind of split them. And have a big free-for-all in every conference. I think that would be so much fun, especially in college football. But make sure to go down in the description, find my Twitter, find the playlist to this if you missed any other of my sports rants. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share it around, all that fun stuff all the YouTubers say. And for Tisbury 33 Games, I'm Cody Schaub. We'll see you next time. Peace.